where learning never stops. Alright, good afternoon students, good afternoon grade 10 Nortanistas. Welcome once again to our 4th live synchronous class only here at Science Matters where learning never stops. Ayan, narinig nyo na agad ang boses ng aking co-teacher for this afternoon. Of course, napakilala ko na sa inyo siya before. None other than, of course, Ma'am Mary Grace M. Marindas. That is why very special talaga tong araw na to kasi kasama natin siya ulit. And of course, I would like to introduce to you that we are now in our science laboratory. Ayan, pinili namin na live dito sa ating science lab so that you can also feel na science class nga. Ayan, nakita niyo naman sa ating mga background na talagang science na tong moment na to. Alright. I really wish na nakakasama namin kayo face-to-face sa science laboratory. But anyway, gusto namin na mabigay lagi yung best namin linggo-linggo na ma-feel nyo pa rin kahit virtual yung ating science laboratory experience. Ayan. Good afternoon sa inyo, Ma'am Marinda. Good afternoon sa iyo. Baka may gusto kang batiin, Ma'am Marinda.
Yes, ma'am. I'm so excited in this live stream today. Kasi excited akong batiin at i-shout out ang aking mga students na hawak. Especially ang aking advisory class na grade 10 Rizal at ang mga iba pang hawak ko na grade 10 Sakay, grade 10 Silang, 13, and Quezon.
Alright. Good afternoon sa inyong lahat. Yes, of course. At kumustahin naman namin kayo ngayon. Kamusta ba kayo? Let me show my screen. Ayan, how are you feeling today? Kindly choose an emoticon of your choice and comment it down. Alright, sa ating comment section para makita natin kung how are you feeling this gloomy afternoon na medyo gloomy weather tayo na may bagyo. But I hope you are keeping safe in your own houses. Alright, and at this point, habang hinintay ko yung mga greetings ninyo, yung mga emoticons ninyo, I would like to take this opportunity to greet, of course, our dear principal, Dr. Francis Kenneth D. Hernandez. Thank you so much for the support. And of course, our head teacher of the Science Department, Sir Nicanor O. Reyes II. And of course, to all science teachers, ODL and MDL science teachers who are tuning in right now, at yung mga nakasama namin, mga nag-stream kaninang umaga, hello and good afternoon sa inyo. And of course, sa aking mga sections na hinahandle, of course, Abad Santos, Agoncillo, Aguinaldo, and Aquino, and of course, my MDL section, Felipe, at sa lahat ng mga MDL sections ng grade 10, hello sa inyo and good afternoon sa inyo. Thank you rin pala, no? Kay our City Mayor, Jennifer Saga, for our outfit for today. Ayan, thank you so much. Ayan, nagko-comment na sila. So mula kanina nakatunin na si Reinhardt, si Janaira, si Marian, si Kyle. Good afternoon sa inyo, si Cristel. Si Marian, si Samantha ng Tensakay. Of course, si Ma'am Janice Reyes, si Cristel. Si Gian, John Tiffany from 13, hello sa'yo. Mary Chris. Ayan, so from 10 Bonifacio, hello. Si Emerson, hi Emerson. Angelica from 10 Sakay, Ryan from 10 Aquino, Janaira from 10 Rizal, what else? Angela from 10 13, Kate, Cassandra, Samantha, Marie Chris, May, Ryan, Emerson, ayan, mga feeling happy sila. Cristel, Edward from 10 Rizal, ayan, Naida, Angelica, Kate, Ryan, Eduardo, ayan, ang dami po. And ayan, keep your comments coming and keep on tuning in. Pakisend dyan sa inyong mga classmates ang ating live session for today. We are now in the 4th week and I hope you will learn a lot from this afternoon session. Move on na tayo. Ayan, meron akong quiz last time, Ma'am Grace, na hindi ko natapos. Okay. Kaya ngayon natin ituloy, okay? Kasi nag-cut na yung time last time. So, let us recall first kung ano yung napag-usapan natin last time. So, our topic last time is the plate tectonics theory and the tectonic plates and the plate boundaries. So again, number 1, I want you to comment the number of the question and the letter of your choice. Okay, number 1, the theory which states that the Earth's crust is divided into several pieces and move relative to each other is blank. Letter A, plate tectonics theory. Letter B, continental drift theory. And letter C, Big Bang theory. Ayan, good afternoon, Ma'am Lori. Good afternoon, Dan Marvin, Rian, Marvelin, Mavic. Ma'am Mavic. Wow, hello, Ma'am Mavic. Ayan, good afternoon sa iyo, Ma'am Mavic. Nadia of 10 Silang, good afternoon. We have also Lian Kate of 10 Silang. Dan Marvin, pa-shoutout na. Ayan, shoutout na kita. Magsagot ka na, John Marvin. John Edlers, hello sa iyo. Rian of 10 Aguinaldo, hello sa'yo. Any answer po for this question? Ayan, si Emerson ay nangunguna na naman. Si Mary Chris, good afternoon Bella. Crystal also answered A. Samantha answered A. Janaira, Rian, they all answered A and you are correct. The answer is plate tectonics theory, letter A. Let's move on. Number 2. The record of earthquake epicenters tells us that blank. A. The crust is broken into pieces. B. Earthquakes may occur again in these spots. And letter C, both A and B. Hanggang dyan natapos yung question ko last time, no? So for sure, masasagot nyo pa rin to. Hi, Lian Kate of 10 Silang. Nag-answer din siya ng letter A. Thank you so much. Also, Bella answered correct. Dan Marvin also answered correct. Thank you. Number 2 na po tayo, guys. Hanggang dito inabot natin last time. Any answer? Siguro kasi nga delayed lang sa amin, no, ma'am? So, ayan.
Kaya medyo matagal.
Ayan, si Desiree ng 10 de Jesus ay nag-answer din ng A. Thank you. Si John Elder. From 10 Sakay pala si John Elder. Ayan. Ayan. Justin answered letter A for number 2. Letter C pala ang answer niya. Who else? But you are correct, Justin. The answer for number 2
is letter C.
Letter C. Thank you so much, Mama Marie. Ayan, si Marian, si Edward, si Emerson, si Boss Nico, si Samantha, si Ryan, si Bella, si Cristel, si Krishaline, si Junaira, si Rian, si Nadia, si Cassandra. They are all answering letter C for number 2 and you are correct. Letter C is the answer for number 2. Number 3, hindi na ito inabot last time. Epicenters are observed to be lying along the places where there are volcanoes because blank. A. Earthquake occurs when volcanoes erupt. B. Epicenters are typically found everywhere. And C. It's just so happen. Ano kaya daw ba ang dahilan kung bakit may mga epicenters din kung saan nandoon ang mga bulkan? Ano daw po ang sagot natin dyan? Good afternoon, Boss Nico. Thank you for Hazel Ann and Desiree and Angelica and Samen for answering. Wilfred also answered letter C for number 2. Thank you. Si Lea Ann pala yung Boss Nico. Sorry. Lea Ann of 10 Aquino. Hello sa'yo. Desiree is from 10 de Jesus. Good afternoon din sa'yo. Daniel from 10 Rizal. Emerson answered number 3, letter C. Cassandra, letter C din. Ayan, binago ni Emerson yung sagot niya. He answered letter A. Also, Marian answered letter A. Justine answered also letter A. Janaira. Wilfred Marie answered letter A. Rian answered letter A. Edward answered letter A. And thank you so much because you are all correct. Earthquake occurs when volcanoes erupt. That's correct. Number 4. Ayan, medyo nagmamadali. Samen is also, I'm sorry. Krishaline is also correct. Micaela is also correct. Ryan is also correct for number 3. Number 4. Along with the volcanoes and earthquake epicenters, blank are found. Kasama daw ng earthquake epicenters at mga volcanoes. Ano pa daw ba ang matatagpuan natin? A. Glaciers. B. Mountain belts, major mountain belts. And C. Hills. Hello, Jenny from 1013. Natawa si Emerson kasi nagbago siya ng answer. Thank you, Desiree. She answered letter A for number 3. Ayan, Marian answered letter B for number 4. Edward also answered letter B for number 4. Emerson also answered B. Ryan answered B. Nadia answered B. And you are all correct. The answer is major mountain belts. Alright, last one na po. Tapos move on na tayo. Number 5, the relationship of the locations of epicenters, volcanoes, and mountain ranges tells us that blank. A. Earthquakes happen when volcanoes and mountains are formed. B. These are the location of the plate boundaries. And letter C, both A and B. Answer please. Ayan, thank you sa mga nag-a-answer, no? Medyo delayed lang yung receive ko. Number 5 na po tayo. Tama naman yung mga answer nila. Justine, Lian, Janaira, Christine, Angela. Ayan, tama po sila. Krisha, Hazel Ann, letter B ang mga sagot nila. Ayan, Emerson said number 5 is letter C. Also, Marian answered letter C for number 5. Krishaline. Hello, Hazel Ann from 10 Aquino. Nadia, letter C also. Bella, letter C. Marveline, letter C. At lahat sila nag-answer ng letter C. And you are correct. Tama po. Kung nasaan ang mga bulkan, epicenters at mountains, nandun din ang, nasa similar location sila. At ito nga yung pinagbasihan ng mga scientists para sabihin nandoon ang plate boundaries. At kaya ngayon ang pag-uusapan din ngayon natin ngayong araw na to, plate boundaries pa rin. Yes. Sabi sa ating lesson last time, ang mga epicenters, o katulad yan, Philippines, nakita natin punong-puno ng epicenters, no? At alam din natin na dito sa mga pinaglalagyan ng epicenters na to, ay meron din mga active volcanoes and mga mountains din dito sa Philippines. Ngayon, ang tanong, dahil sabi nga last time, ito daw yung location daw ng mga epicenters na to, volcanoes and mountains, ang pinagbasihan ng mga scientists para masabi na siya ay nakalocate sa plate boundaries. Tingnan nga natin kung nakalocate nga ang Philippines sa plate boundary. Ayan, I have here a video clip at coming from Google Earth, of course, at nagpapakita na ang Pilipinas nga ay nasa gilid.
Plate boundary.
Yes, tinutungtungan niya talaga mismong plate boundary. What do we mean once again by plate boundary? It is the edge of a plate, yung pinakagilid ng plate natin. So nakikita natin na ang Pilipinas, kaya pala, marami siyang epicenters at marami siyang active volcanoes.
Dahil nandun siya mismo, ma'am, sa ibabaw ng
plate boundary. Okay. At yun nga yung pinatutungkalan natin, even last time pa, na merong mga plate boundaries at ito nga yung lokasyon nun. Pero today, eto may bago akong ipapakitang picture. Ang kaibahan nito, ma'am, dun sa unang picture natin, meron ng mga arrows na nagsasabi kung ano ang nagiging movement ng mga boundaries na yan. There are arrows that are moving towards each other, moving away from each other, and sliding past one another. And that is why our lesson for today is describe the different types of plate boundaries. At napakaswerte natin ngayong class because nandito kasama natin si Ma'am Marinda, and aside from that, she has prepared a video for us telling us the different types of plate boundaries. Are you excited, kids? Let's watch this.
Good day, grade 10 students. I am Ma'am Mary Grace M. Marinda, one of your grade 10 Science MDL teachers. Welcome to Science Matters, where learning never stops. In our last lesson about plate tectonics theory, you've learned that first, Earth's lithosphere is made up of several plates. Second, the plates are constantly but slowly moving relative to one another. And lastly, the movements of plates causes formation of geologic features and occurrence of geologic events. The formation of geologic features and occurrence of geologic events occur along what we call as plate boundaries. To let you learn more about it, today, we will discuss the different types of plate boundaries. At the end of our lesson, you should be able to identify, describe, and compare the different types of plate boundaries. This hard-boiled egg with eggshell having many cracks makes a good model of the Earth's crack. We call each piece a tectonic plate, and in between tectonic plates is a plate boundary. So, anywhere tectonic plates meet is what we call plate boundary. Again, we've learned that all the tectonic plates are constantly moving but very slowly around the planet. As they move, they interact with one another and may either move close to one another, move away from one another, or may slide past each other. These movements usually cause earthquakes, and movements happen in plate boundaries. And that is why earthquakes occur mostly along plate boundaries. Because of the differences in their movements, tectonic plate boundaries are grouped into three main types: convergent boundaries, divergent boundaries, and transform fault boundaries. Let us discuss first convergent boundary. Convergent boundary is a boundary in which two plates move towards each other. Convergent boundary is also called destructive boundary. As two or more lithospheric plates collide, the oceanic crust is forced down into the mantle, where it begins to melt and may trigger earthquakes. Oceanic crust is always destroyed in this type of boundary. Convergent boundary has three types. Oceanic continental convergent plate boundary. Collision happens between a continent and oceanic crust, which forms trench and volcanic arcs and may cause occurrence of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Oceanic convergent plate boundary is a type of convergent boundary where two oceanic crusts collide. And just like the oceanic continental convergent plate boundary, it will cause formation of trenches. And these trenches will become sources of earthquakes. Volcanic island arc is also formed. Volcanic island arc is a chain of volcanoes positioned in an arc shape parallel to the trend. Continental plate boundary. It is a type of convergent boundary when two continental crusts collide and end up producing mountains. Neither continental crust will subduct beneath one another because of their similar density. The second type of plate boundary is divergent boundary. Divergent boundary is a boundary in which two plates move away from one another. Divergent boundary is also called constructive boundary because new crust is formed as plates move apart from one another and magma wells up to fill the gap. The movement of the diverging plates over the mantle can also cause earthquakes. Rising magma can also create volcanoes. Transform fault boundary is a boundary in which two lithospheric plates slide past each other. It is also known as conservative boundary, where the crust is neither destroyed nor formed.
To help you identify the different types of plate boundaries, here's a map of plate boundaries. What do you observe? This map shows the geographic location and extent of lithospheric plates. So you see, you can use a map of plate boundaries to see where the three different types of plate boundaries are found throughout the world. Let's try. Let me use this map to give you some examples of the different types of plate boundaries and where they are located. For convergent boundaries, examples may include the boundary between the Eurasian plate and the Indian plate. The collision of Eurasian plate and Indian plate formed Himalayan mountain range and Tibetan plateau. The range has some of the planet's highest peaks, including the highest mountain Everest. Another example of convergent boundary is the boundary between the Nazca Plate and the South American Plate along the west coast of South America. The movements of Nazca Plate and the South American Plate have also formed the Andes, the tallest chain of volcanic mountains. Examples of divergent boundaries include the boundary between the African Plate and the Arabian Plate in the Red Sea. Another example of divergent boundaries is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, made up of the boundary between the North American and Eurasian plates in the North Atlantic crossing Iceland. The boundary between the South American and the African plates in the South Atlantic is also an example of divergent boundary. Examples of transform fault boundaries include the boundary between the Pacific Plate and the Australian Plate crossing New Zealand. The boundary between the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate in California is also a transformed fault boundary. Your knowledge about the names and geography of 7 continents is very important in being able to identify and locate the different plate boundaries. If you know where the 7 continents are located, mostly, you also know the names of the tectonic plates, where those plates are located, as well as the type of boundaries between them. Now that you have learned the different types of plate boundaries and the different movements they exhibit, I'm sure that you will not be surprised to know that around 2 billion years ago, Earth was a very different place than it is today when it comes to the composition and location of its land masses and water bodies. That's all for today. Once again, I'm Ma'am Grace. I hope you learned something. See you again next time.
And that's it! Kamusta? Nagustuhan niyo ba ang ating video lesson na ginawa sa atin ni Ma'am Mary Grace Marinda? Mukha namang na-appreciate nila, Ma'am, kasi ang dami ng mga paano ba to? Parang ganyan and dove na mga reaction from our students. Hello sa inyo, si Jerica na late daw siya, pero okay lang yan, Jerica. Good afternoon, Hurley V from 10 Jacinto, Angelica from 10 Sakay, Pax, ano kaya yung name mo? From 10 Agoncillo. And of course, Warlin from 10 Silang. Kahit na medyo na late kayo, okay lang yan. And of course, to sum up our lesson for today, of course, sasamahan tayo ni Ma'am Marinda at ang ating ngang pag-uusapan is to describe the 3 types of plate boundaries na mga na-mention niya kanina sa kanyang video. Alright, with that, ayan, so nakikita natin ngayon, okay lang yun, Ma'am. So nakikita natin ngayon sa ating screens na meron tayong dalawang plates dito na nagmo-move. Okay? What do you call this type of plate boundary? Sige nga, comment down nga tayo. Hi, Ma'am, sabi ni Edward. Emerson, ayan. Yehey, opo, ayan. Napalakpak si Del Remedio Charlie. Ay, binuo ko talaga yung pangalan. Sorry. Ayan. Ano kaya ang tawag dyan? Kindly comment and emoticon of... sorry. Kindly comment kung ano po ang pangalan ng plate boundary na nakikita nyo sa ating screen this afternoon. Itong screen na to. Ano kaya yan? Na-mention yan kanina. When plates are actually moving towards each other, what do you call this type of plate boundary? Ayan, sumagot na si Emerson. Sabi niya ay convergent. Anyone? Sabi rin ni Sheena ay convergent. Si Miriel, convergent din. Si Justine, buong-buo. Convergent plate boundary. Wow. Sinagot din ni Jerica ang convergent. Aliyah, James, Charlie, Hurley V. Hello, Arga from 10 Silang. Ayan, sila Hazel, sila Randall, Jiro, Cristel, lahat sila nagsasagot ng convergent. Ma'am Marinda, yes, tama po ba?
Wow, ma'am, tama yung sagot nila. Ayan ay convergent boundary.
Ayan, convergent boundary or convergent
Excuse
plate
me, class
boundary.
kanina, ha?
Ayan, okay lang yun, ma'am. Naisalin ko yata sa iyo pag-bobo ko. Alright, so, ayan pa, sige pa.
Okay. Ma'am, this is convergent boundary. So, this type of boundary is where 2 plates move towards each other.
That's right. Alright. So,
as
mamaya...
you can see from the arrows, they are moving towards each other.
Yes. And mamaya, mas ma-discuss pa yun ni Ma'am Marinda. Move on tayo. Tingnan naman natin ito, ma'am. Okay. Ano naman kaya ang tawag sa type of plate boundary where itong plates na to ay parang may arrow and they are moving away from each other. Ayan, thank you sa mga nag-answer kanina kay Christine, Ryan, Marveline, Micaela, Bella, Jam. Ayan, si Dan Marvin, si Jonas, si Baltasar, si John Daniel, si Randall. Ayan, lahat sila nag-answer ng convergent. Eto naman ngayon, si Randall namumuna. Sinusundan ni Emerson, si James, si Dwayne, si Justine, si Kylie, si Harverly, at lahat sila ay nagsasagot ng divergent plate boundary. Tama ba ito, Ma'am Grace?
Lahat sila, ma'am, divergent.
Yes.
Lahat sila, ma'am, correct.
Yes.
That is divergent boundary.
Alright.
Okay. 2 plates in the divergent boundary are moving apart from each other or away from each other.
That's right. Okay. Tapos mamaya, di-discuss na ni Ma'am, no, kung ano kayong mga nangyayari sa mga yan. Alright, thank you sa mga nag-answer. Craig, Micaela, John, Randall, ayan, Jerica, ayan, sabi ni Jerica pala, ma'am, lalagyan po ba ng number? Hindi na po, last na lang po ito. Ayan.
Ma'am, ako na magtanong sa kanila yan.
Okay, sige po.
Wala na yung ubo. Okay, class, this is, as you can see, the two plates are sliding past each other. Tingnan natin kung matatandaan nyo from the video kung anong type ng boundary meron ang dalawang plates na ito.
Ayan.
So, comment down.
Marathon daw, sabi ni Emerson. Bakit marathon? Ayan, ang daming, ayan, si Craig ay nag-answer ng transform fold. Cry lazy. Si Renz nag-answer ng transform. Christine answered transform. Zaira, Miriel, Samantha, transform, fold, plate, boundary. Buong-buhin kay Samantha. Mary Chris, Emerson, Justine answered also transform. Jerica, Randall, Giselle, John Ver, James. Ang dami nilang nagpa-participate. Thank you so much, guys. And tama kayo.
Yes,
Tama nga ba sila, ma'am?
nakakatuwa, ma'am. Lahat ng
Yes.
sinagot nila ay
Tama.
tama.
Okay, so, ang
So, that
tawag nga
is
dyan
a
ay-
transform fault boundary.
Yan. So, how do we
Moving or sliding past each other.
Alright. So, para mas maipaliwanag ni Ma'am Grace, no, ang pagkakaiba ng tatlong yan, let's have the next slide. Ayan,
Okay.
okay.
Ma'am, this slide ay para maipakita natin sa kanila or mabigyan natin sila ng sample ng iba't ibang class, or different types of boundaries. So, makikita nyo dyan sa map class, merong arrows. Very obvious naman na makikita nyo yung converging, diverging, and sliding past each other. So, I would like to mention some examples of each type of boundary. Sa nakikita ko ngayon, Eurasian plate and Indian plate is a type of convergent boundary class.
They are moving towards each other.
Moving towards each other. And a divergent plate boundary, I can see a North American plate and Eurasian plate.
Yes.
So
very
that
good
is
example.
an example, yes ma'am. And then the sliding past each other or the transform fault boundary, we have here the Pacific plate and the
North America.
North American plate. That is an
Yes.
example of
Alright.
sliding. Now class, I have prepared for you a Venn diagram. I know you are already familiar with what a Venn diagram is. This is to show you clearly the differences or so that you can describe each type of boundary para mas ma-describe nyo or ma-compare nyo from each other. Makikita nyo dyan class sa gitna. Let's discuss first. At the center of the Venn diagram, you can see these things are all common among the three types of
Yes.
boundaries. So they are oceanic. They could be oceanic. They could be continental plate boundaries. And they are moving on top of a stenosphere. Lahat sila nasa moving
At the top of the soft weak layer of the mantle, and that is what we call a stenosphere.
Okay, moving slowly on top of
yes.
it.
Sa mga susunod na weeks, ipapaliwanag natin. Kasi ngayon, pinag-uusapan natin no, ma'am, ang mga motions ng mga boundaries, I mean, ng mga plates, mga motions ng plates. Baka merong mga advanced students tayo dyan na nanonood ngayon na, paano gumagalaw? Anong nagkukos ng motion?
Yes.
Okay lang, i-reserve nyo muna yung tanong na yan
Because
dahil
that
sa
would
mga
be
susunod na
next
weeks, ipapaliwanag naman kung bakit nga gumagalaw yung mga plates na yan.
Yes. And another thing that is common among the three types of boundaries, we have the earthquakes occurring among them.
Alright,
Sa
lahat pala
tatlong
ng
yan
paggalaw,
ay may earthquake.
may paglindol. Okay? Whether they are moving towards each other, whether they are moving away from each other and
or
sliding past one
each
another,
other.
laging may paglindol every time gumagalaw yan.
Yes, ma'am. Then, sa convergent boundary naman, we have the oceanic continental convergent boundary. As you can see, class, wala nito sa divergent boundary. Meron lang siya sa convergent boundary. And then another geologic features. Sa convergent boundary, we have trenches, we have volcanoes. And sa volcanoes, we have volcanic arc sa oceanic continental, ma'am.
Yes.
Tama, di ba? And we have, sa oceanic, we have volcanic island arc. We call it now volcanic island arc kasi nasa ocean siya. And then, another events that happen. We have subduction sa convergent boundary.
Yes.
We have magma formation, and we also have occurrence of tsunami sa
Yan.
convergent boundary.
Okay lang po, no, kung medyo mabilis ang mga terminologies na pinapakita namin ngayon kasi in the next 2 weeks to come, ipapaliwanag po ulit isa-isa po yan. Ano yung subduction?
Yes.
Bakit may oceanic continental convergence, oceanic convergence? Ano yung trench? Bakit may trench? Bakit may
Huwag
volcanic
kayong
island
magugulat
part?
muna,
Yes.
mabibigla class,
Lahat ito,
because
class,
later on ay ipapaliwanag sa
yes,
next
lahat ito ay overview
lesson.
pa lang. Ang purpose lang natin talaga today is for you to know the 3 types of plate boundaries.
Yes, their motion, ma'am.
Yes.
And then sa transform fault boundary, wala dito class any geologic feature na na-form. Yan ang dapat niyong tandaan. Only earthquake is happening sa transform fault boundary. Okay, sa divergent boundary, rift valleys are formed, submarine or oceanic, mid-ocean ridge, and volcanoes are also formed in this type of boundary.
Alright.
So this, i-add ko lang ma'am, dito sa Venn diagram na to, this would be very helpful to them when they are answering the learning task number 2 of their pivot learner's manual.
Ayan. At dahil nga dyan, no?
Makakatulong yan.
Opo, i-discuss na natin ang mga magiging task nila. For the ODL students, model time na po tayo. So, nakabukas na po ito. Simula pa po kahapon, Monday. Meron tayong interactive game. Ito ay hindi talaga recorded na, pero I want you to experience this interactive game na nandun po sa ating LMS. Kung mabilis naman ang ating LMS right now. So, gusto kong ma-experience ito sa aking mga ODL students. And of course, Learning Task 2.1, doon nyo rin po yan sasagutan. Post-test and online quiz. Ang kaibahan po ng ating week this week ay lahat ng inyong mga task ay sa LMS nyo po sasagutan. Kaya kung napansin nyo, wala akong binabang mga Word documents na mga dapat yung sagutan doon. Lahat po ay online, sa LMS po mismo. Pag nagkakaproblema po kayo in answering this, PM nyo lang po ako. And of course, yung minimension nga ni Ma'am Grace kanina, ayan, hindi ko na nalagyan ng mga title-only pages. Pero yung sinabi niya nga na Venn diagram kanina ay makakatulong sa inyo in answering
Learning task number 2, ma'am.
Yes, ano ba yung learning task number 1, ma'am?
Okay. Ma'am, lahat ng learning task na ito ay nabigay na sa kanila.
Okay.
At naipaliwanag na sa weekly home learning plan nila kung paano nila ito sasagutan.
Yes.
So, very clear na to sa kanila. But, I just would like to mention na yung learning task 4 ang kanilang performance task. So,
Ayan.
lahat kayo, hindi nyo pwedeng hindi sasagutan yung learning task 4 because this is 60%
No,
of
50%
50%
of your
of
grade.
your-
Alright, with that, thank you so much. May tanong ba? Ayan, mga nag-good afternoon po sila. Roel from Lacandula, Nicole from Rizal, Ian from Baltazar, Jerica, na-mention na kita kanina. Roel from Lacandula, Arabella from Rizal. Good afternoon sa inyo. Angel from Quezon. Still watching daw si Angelica. Alright, parang nalulungkot si Roel. Bakit kaya? Higher grades? Bakit kayo nahihingi ng higher grades? Alright, basta makipag-coordinate kayo sa mga teachers niyo kung paano kayo makakapag-submit ng inyong mga outputs. And keep on tuning in. Next week, meron po tayo ulit makakasamang another MDL teacher po na mag-explain naman ng mga sinasabi ni Ma'am Grace kanina ng mga processes.
Okay,
Alright, kung wala na po kayong katanungan, we are already time. Thank you so much, Ma'am Grace,
Thank you,
for
ma'am.
gracing our live synchronous class this afternoon.
ma'am.
We hope to see you soon again sa next quarter.
Yes, sure,
Alright.
ma'am.
Ayan. At sa mga students ni Ma'am Grace, PM na lang siya sa inyong mga katanungan. Alright, with that, thank you so
Thank
much.
you everyone. Thank you sa mga students ko na
Nakatune in.
okay, nakatune in
Alright.
at nag-participate.
Yes, alright. Thank you so much. With that, keep on tuning in. Thank you. Only here at Science Matters,
where learning never stops.
Bye-bye.